Well, welcome back to Adelante, Chicago. For the last decade, you've probably heard a lot about this. You've noticed tremendous growth in Logan Square, Humboldt Park. You now have the 606 trail moving through that area, but a lot of residents who live there feel like they are being pushed out. And joining us now to talk a little bit more about this are Brian Persa, there you see him, youth organizer with the Logan Square Neighborhood Association. Also here joining us today is Xavier Perez with 606 Vecinos, and lastly, Violet Gallardo, a college student who lives in Logan Square. We got that right. Thank you guys for coming in. Okay, so this is something that has been going on for a while now. It seems like we've been reporting on it for the last, I would say the last decade, definitely in the last couple of years. So what is happening at this point? What are you noticing with people who have lived in Logan Square for decades and decades, and where are they now going? I'll start with you, Xavier, if you want to tackle that one.
Well, we've noticed for really after the 2000s, we just noticed that there's been an increase in property taxes, there's been an increase in rent prices. And so for long-time homeowners that have been in the community for a number of years, we've noticed that they haven't been able to keep up with the rent prices. And so we've, in addition to that change, we've seen a number of new residents come in and changing the certain demographics of the neighborhood. So we've seen those apartments now become more like condos and become more affluent. And so the biggest thing that you could definitely see is the change in the demographic nature of the neighborhood, the change in property tax, and the change in rental prices.
Okay. Do you feel like, and I'll hit you with this, do you feel like now it has reached sort of a breaking point where you feel like something needs to be done because so many people, Logan Square is no longer what I guess it used to be, right?
Yeah, and like Xavier said, it started, like you said, you mentioned it, right? It started since the early 2000s. But this happened, it's rapidly, now it like increasingly, it's happening since the opening of the 606, even a couple of months before the 606.
And when you say it's happening, what is happening exactly?
Gentrification, just rapidly, yeah, getting the neighborhood gentrified. And I mean, we're not against growth, right? But it does play race and, yeah, socioeconomic status plays a big role in this. And we just see that a lot of 2-4 flats are getting demolished and replaced by million-dollar homes, right? So these homes are not for the families who basically helped build this community.
Let's talk about that. You said you're not against growth. So then the question becomes, how do you grow a community and see it flourish without some sort of gentrification? Do you guys have a plan sort of that you're looking at as to how you would like to see it done?
Yeah, definitely. So I know LSNE, we just had our Congress this past Tuesday on the 17th, and we had a few aldermen there and kind of discussing different ordinances that we are pushing, trying to support and put into place to kind of help preserve our diversity. And, you know, we do welcome growth, but we also have to think about the implications that are coming within it as well. You know, with the implementation of the 606, like, it's a very nice pathway. It's a really great resource for the community, but what are the intentions for that? And that's what we're really trying to focus to can preserve our culture and our history within the communities, and you know, not having people pushed out for rising taxes.
Okay, let's start with the 606 because you now have some key points that you're talking to aldermen in that community. I think it's Maldonado and Moreno to draft some sort of measures and ordinance, put them in place so that this doesn't get any worse with the 606. Talk to me about some of the things that are in those key points that you've been discussing with these aldermen.
So the 606 ordinance, it would be basically imposing a fee to developers, and for every unit they tear down, and basically it's because they're taking away affordable housing, right, from the neighborhood housing stock. So basically we would use that money would go back to a local fund and use for affordable housing in the community, and we're proposing that for each unit they tear down, if it's a single-family home they tear down, a house, it's going to be around $25,000. If it's 2 units, it would be $20,000 per unit, and it goes so on, right? Once it hits 4 or more units, it's $10,000 per unit, and this is a way for to try to deteriorate the demolition that's happening, and also use that local fund to replace. Well, not replace, but have more affordable housing.
Okay, so that's one of the key things. How is that being received? Because that's obviously pretty steep amount of money when you think of $25,000 for a single family home and as many as are being impacted.
Yeah, So this fee would be imposed to developers, right? And it seems like they're making a killing out of making, out
Well,
of
wouldn't they just
displacing
add that
families.
on to the price of the
Well,
homes that they're selling?
That's
Yeah.
the purpose of it, right? That we're trying to deteriorate them demolishing existing housing,
Okay.
affordable housing.
What else do you have on that list for the 606?
For the 606, that's
Is
mostly
that the
it.
main?
Yeah, and then the local impact fund. And we do have 5 key principles. I know different aldermen have been working on pushing for a property tax rebate, and we don't. I mean, all we want to make sure that whatever they push for, that it does help our community and our people. And one of the most important principles that is in that ordinance is that for eligibility, it's
For eligibility, yeah.
Yeah, it's by income instead
Income level?
of of
The
value
property,
of the property.
yeah, property value.
Okay. What has the relationship been like between the Logan Square Neighborhood Association and the developers? I guess how are the lines of communication at this point as you try to develop some of these ordinances?
I think in some ways, I mean, in many ways, it's they might be receptive to the idea of affordable housing being constructed, but there's ways in which you could get around that. So there's ways that the city has a fee associated with it, but when you're constructing a huge tower, then it's very minimal for what that fee in comparison to what you're going to make, the millions of dollars you're going to make off of that tower. So I feel like in many ways the city hasn't been able to hold many of these developers accountable to affordable housing. And there's all sorts of different ways you could circumvent those laws. So that's why I think that the community is a little bit maybe on the defensive about this, is
Sure.
because the community is asking for affordable housing, and of course right now there's the demand for housing is just so high that it becomes a hot ticket item that it pits these two groups against each other, and that's the part I think.
Because that's the way it feels right now. Like you've got two groups definitely going at each other, right?
Yeah, from the developer's perspective, because as you could imagine, this is just land that they could just profit off of and buy it at very cheap prices and then just convert them all to very expensive single-family homes. And that's the thing we've been noticing along the 606. We've been noticing that a lot of maybe like the 2 flats or the 3 flats are they're being deconstructed, they're being demolished, and then you have expensive single-family homes that take their place. And clearly, some of these homes are close to $750,000 and up. So that's nowhere near what affordable housing would even allow you to get.
All right. I want to turn to you and talk to people about what you are doing at this point to raise awareness, get people to, I guess, listen to your fight and your plight.
So I know personally, I recently, I know for about 8 years, I've had a close relationship with the Logan Square Neighborhood Association. I was there my first job through the After School Matters program as a youth leader, and it's been really important to me to kind of tie my educational experiences of what's going on in the community. So I also volunteer with Grassroots Illinois Action, so GIA. And what they've been hosting for the past couple weeks on Saturdays, they do a Humble Park storytelling workshop. So what that is, we invite people from the community to kind of meet together and kind of discuss issues of anti-gentrification, specifically revolving around the 606 and within the Humble Park and Logan Square neighborhood. Sure. So it's been a really great space to kind of reflect creatively and to like share stories with everyone who's lived generationally within these neighborhoods, and to really think about to bring these stories alive, because, you know, when you hear gentrification, you know, we are not just like, we're moving people out and, you know, all these nice things are coming in, but you're really disrupting history,
Sure.
You're disrupting legacies. So it's really important to keep those narratives alive and to let people know that this is what you're actually trying to tear apart.
Yeah, so find a way to do it that benefits everybody involved, right? Not just one group. Okay, is there a number where people can call to get more information? Hit me with that real quick.
So I know LSNA and GIA also have Facebooks. I don't know their numbers off the top of my head, but you could find the Logan Square Neighborhood Association.
Check them out on Facebook. We can do that. All right, thank you so much to all of you for coming in today. Good luck to you.